Yes, sir.
Well, first we have a question from online. It's about carbon taxes or CO2 taxes. Do we know of any organizations, perhaps the Heartland Institute, is doing anything besides informing the public about the impact a carbon tax or CO2 tax would have, whether it's imposed in the United States or globally?
Yeah, the Heartland Institute is strongly opposed to a carbon tax. So we think it's absolutely unnecessary. This goes to motives as well. I mean, I think a lot of the reason for advocacy for global warming is just to get a carbon tax. And the minute they get their carbon tax, they'll stop talking about global warming and they'll just enjoy the money. The whole purpose was to get the money. Yeah. So we're against that. We think it's unnecessary, counterproductive. It hurts the poor. It's regressive. But most of all, it's just unnecessary. It's a bad thing to do. The Tax Foundation, Competitive Enterprise Institute, Cato Institute, Heritage Foundation, they're all against a carbon tax, and for that same reason. I know Heritage has done some really good economic modeling that estimates the cost per household of a carbon tax. And finally, they talk about a carbon tax, but they have a backdoor approach to implementing global warming policy, and that's renewable energy mandates. So they pass these laws. I'm going to forget the exact numbers here. Tim, you might know what the mandate in Illinois is.
25%.
Is it 25%?
I believe by next year.
There we go. 25% of all the electricity sold in Illinois has to be sourced from renewable power sources. And that doesn't include nuclear power. We're not going to count nuclear. Yeah, just hypocrisy on the other side again. So this is hugely expensive. Wind and solar are very expensive. And we've got an expert on it here who's going to help us out on it.
Another interesting fact is that the EPA projections for their power plan for clean power assume that all these laws that exist are actually going to come to fruition. So the EPA's plan for regenerable and renewables already takes into account that Illinois is going to have 25%, which there's not a snowball's chance, and in Arlington Heights today.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's politicians making promises that they can't keep. And it's real easy to make a promise and to say in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, they're not going to be in office then. People are going to forget the promises that they made. And the increase in your electricity bill, yeah, except in Illinois, unless you're Speaker of the House. Michael Madigan was Speaker of the House when the Heartland Institute was started 32 years ago. And he is still in that position, so it's an astonishing thing. But the increased cost of energy is in your electric bill, and it gets passed through in the price of the products that you buy and the gasoline that you buy. And so you don't know who to blame. You don't think it's the politicians. You don't think that it's because solar is more expensive or wind is more expensive. There isn't something on your bill that breaks it out and explains it. So that's the invisible tax. The carbon tax is just one way to tax us to support this boondoggle. The energy mandates, renewable energy mandates, is the other.
Yeah, Joe? David Peerenboom.